Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To the Honorable, my supervisors, Ma'am Rosinta Norawati, and Mr. Yon Adlis, and also to my examiners, Ma'am Fortuna Sari and Ma'am Yelia. So I would like to present my thesis proposal with the title Teachers' Perceptions about the Implementation of Blended Learning in English Class. So, in my thesis proposal, there are 3 chapters. First, introduction. Second, literature review. And third, research methodology. So, first, we come to the background of the study. Blended learning is one of the models which is implemented during pandemic. This learning model is actualized through integration of online and offline learning. It is more suitable to meet the condition during pandemic. Blended learning activities are carried out through learning in specific contexts, interaction with teachers, as well as collaboration with fellow students. And the implementation of blended learning aims to provide a good learning experience when distance learning is carried out. So, from the statement above, blended learning seems suitable to meet the condition during this pandemic. However, the education units still faces a number of challenges in implementing blended learning. These include the high demand for technological devices and internet staff, and also the lack of support technology knowledge from both teachers and students. Students also face obstacles during blended learning, such as self-initiative for independent learning, interest in literacy, technological competence, self-management, ineffectiveness of technology, and many more. So, as teacher is the controller in the learning process, teacher need to choose the right method by considering the component in the learning content, such as materials, assessment, and information about online classroom management. And also, teacher pay attention to the atmosphere and the existing facilities. So that teachers are obligated to create the learning with a meaningful atmosphere, fun, creative, held interactively, challenging, motivating, and providing sufficient space for initiative and independence. So, in delivering the material, teachers should consider constructivism theory to make students more active. So, due to the necessity of distant learning, which adjusts to certain conditions, teacher must prepare blended learning plans by combining online learning process that utilize various online media with face-to-face learning that is adapted to current condition. Next, we come to the research question. So, based on the background of the study above, the research questions of this research are: first, what are teachers' perceptions toward blended learning in English class? Second, how do English teachers implement the blended learning model? And for the purpose of this research, first, to explore teachers' perceptions about the practice of using blended learning during the learning process. Second, to explain the practices on blended learning in English language teaching by knowing the way teachers implement the blended learning model. Next, about the limitation of the research. This research will focus on the teacher's perception at Junior High School 7 in Kota Jambi. The perception itself will discuss about the implementation, planning, process, and evaluation of blended learning models. And also we'll discuss about the obstacles, experiences, and the effort to overcome the problems during the implementation of the blended learning itself. Next, significance of the research. First, the theoretical significance is providing better understanding and methods for enhancing the effectiveness of blended learning in English teaching. And for the practical significance, it is for English teacher to have broader understanding of how to design and develop blended learning and how to integrate the learning with technologies for English class. Next, Chapter 2 about review of related literature. So, in Chapter 2, I put 4 items. First is about blended learning items. So I put 9 points of blended learning stuff. The first is the definition of blended learning, the implementation of blended learning, the components of blended learning, the characteristic, and then blended learning settings and models, technology in blended learning, also the purpose and benefits, and also advantages and disadvantages of blended learning. And then second, about blended learning in English teaching. Third, teacher's perception, and fourth, relevant research. So, for this study, I used the theory by Carman 2005. He stated about 5 elements of blended learning. First is live event. Live event is where the learning is done in real time. So, teacher have a class in the real time, and it may be a direct class or virtual classroom, but at the same time. And then self-paced learning. It allows students to learn anytime and anywhere with variety of learning materials. And then third, there is collaboration. So collaboration is a collaborative learning environment between teachers and students or peers collaboration. And then fourth, assessment. So teacher need to mix a combination of type of assessment. It may assessment through online learning or offline learning. And also the assessment may be in the form of test or non-test. So teacher can mix a combination of assessment. And then the last one is reference material. So learning materials should be prepared in digital form, which accessible through online and offline. Next, for the second theory, this is about blended learning settings by Khairuman 2018. So, blended learning settings is divided into 4 stages. First is live synchronous. Live synchronous is learning at the same time and space. So it is like face-to-face class or traditional class. And then the second stage is, the second settings is virtual synchronous. So in the virtual synchronous, the learning is conducted at the same time but in different space. And then the third settings, there is self-directed asynchronous. Self-directed learning can be done in any time and anywhere. And then the fourth settings is collaborative asynchronous, where learning is conducted anytime and anywhere with others. So, through these settings, through these settings, teachers can mix two or more settings from these blended learning settings. And then next, this is the activities of each settings. In live synchronous learning, the activities may be a lecture, discussion, practice, workshop, seminar, lab practice, field trips, and field trips. And then for the activities of virtual synchronous learning, there are virtual class, audio conference, video conference, and web-based conference. And for self-directed asynchronous learning, there are reading, watching video or webcasts, listening, online study, simulation, drill and practice, test or quiz, and journal publication or blog. And for the activities of the setting of collaborative asynchronous learning, there are discussion forum, online assignment, it may in individual or group, and also group project. Next, this is the theory about blended learning models, which is stated by Brooke 2015. So, blended learning models are divided into 4 models. First is rotation model, second flex model, third self-blend model, and fourth enriched virtual model. And for the rotation model, it is classified into 4 instructional models. First is station rotation model, lab rotation model, flipped classroom model, and also individual rotation model. Actually, rotation model involves student learning in a number of different activities or learning centers, including whole group instruction, small group instruction, peer-to-peer activities, assignment, and individual work on computer or tablet. And then, for the second one, flex model. Flex model in blended learning emphasizes individual learning. And about self-blend model, it is using online media in delivering learning materials to students. And then the last model, enriched virtual model, is a learning model that is conducted online and face-to-face, and the material delivery is carried out by face-to-face interaction between students and teachers, where the study room is designed conventionally, while the online session will be filled with assignment. Next, about the relevant research. So in the relevant research, first is from Tongpun, Patanar, Sorn, and White. That the research is published in 2020 with the title Teachers and Students' Perception on Blended Learning and Tertiary English Language Courses. And the result of this study indicate that teachers and students respond blended learning is quite good for them. But teachers and students also feel ready to implement blended learning for language classes. In the study, the researcher points out several shortcomings of the application of blended learning. Next, the research is from Nur Hadi, that is published in 2020 with the title Blended Learning and its Application in the new normal era of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the result of this study indicate that blended learning can make it more cost-effective, time-saving, objects objects like learning material can be reused for learning and flexible for students. This model can also encourage students to make the best use of online communication to develop knowledge. Next, about chapter 3, research methodology. So, about the research design, this study uses a qualitative approach with descriptive design to provide an overview of teachers' perception about blended learning in English class. And qualitative descriptive research is aimed to describe and give an overview of existing phenomena, both natural and human engineering. This is stated by Sukmadinata 2011. Next, participant of the research. So, this study will conduct in Junior High School 7 in Kota Jambi, and the subjects of the research will be 3 of English teachers. So, these 3 English teachers will representative of each grade, various grade 7 grade, 8 grade, and also 9 grade. And then the criteria for participants who will be chosen are teachers who apply blended learning model and use platforms or technology features during learning and teaching in pandemic situation. Next, technique of data collection. So this study will be collected through two following methods. First is interview. The purpose of interview is to find as much as possible, leading to depth of information and carried out informally. This research will use semi-structured interviews in order to explore the views of the subject under the study. And researcher will conduct an interview with some of English teacher at SMP Negeri 7 Kota Jambi, and the researcher also will record and take note all answers from the respondent as it is. Second technique of data collection is documentation. So the main documents that is needed for this research is lesson plan, which aim to find out more clearly what learning activities can be carried out while applying blended learning model. And then we come to the technique of data analysis. The researcher will use the theory from Miles and Huberman. First, so there are 3 stages of data analysis. First is data reduction. It is concerned with the process of selecting, focusing, simplifying, reducing, and organizing the collected data. And then the second stage, data display. It is a process of collecting information which is arranged according to the categories required. And then the third stage, conclusion drawing and verification. This is the last stage, is to double check, verify, and make sure the data has been analyzed. And then about the trustworthiness. So the technique of checking the validity of data in the study is by using triangulation. Triangulation is a technique of checking the validity of data by utilizing something other than the data for checking purposes or as a comparison against the data. This triangulation of sources will be used by the researcher to check the data obtained from several English teachers at Junior High School 7 in Kota Jambi. So, that's all about my presentation for my thesis proposal. Thank you for your attention and thank you for watching my presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.